видишь, плохо играешь просто и все. Ну вот это на музыкальном инструменте я плохо играю просто. Плохо играю, как музыкант я играю. По идее, не с руки так признаваться это не очень хорошо в этом, но ничего страшного нет. Все равно, да, мне не нужны все равно косяковые какие-то, да, приятия там. Сейчас я объясняю. То есть, ну, себе... Ну да, у тебя нет такого критерия уметь играть. Ты просто хочешь быть музыкантом, не умеешь играть, такое тоже бывает. И я тебе больше скажу, можно, я имею в виду в финансовом смысле, да? И, ну, то есть жить на эти деньги, да? Ну да.
Okay, so here we are with a worksheet that you can download from the website. We're going to do a few questions and go through the steps. So the first question says, write an A major scale using a key signature. Okay, so we're going to do that now. Now I'm doing this video, I'm using a pen. For those of you who haven't done music theory homework before, please don't ever do this. I'm only using a pen because it shows up. It's easier to read on the camera. But if you're doing this at home, use a pencil. So write an A major scale using a key signature. So to write a major scale, step one is to write the key signature. Now because I've memorized my key signatures already, I know that A major has 3 sharps, and I know that those sharps are Father Charles goes. Father Charles goes. Okay, and that's the correct formation for the treble clef. Okay, step 2 is to write the tonic note. The tonic of A major is A. There's an A. And then the last step is to write all the way up to the next A, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and then an A at the top. Now if the question on the exam says ascending only, you can stop there. But if the question says ascending and descending, you have to come back down. So just to be safe, let's do descending as well. So we will write the scale ascending and descending. And that's the right answer. Okay, so question 2 says, write an E-flat major scale using accidentals. So this time we do not get to use a key signature. We're going to have to put the accidentals in ourselves. So we can start by figuring out what the key signature of E-flat major actually is. I know you've memorized this already, so you know that E-flat has 3 flats, and those are battle, ends, and. So E-flat has a B-flat, an E-flat, and an A-flat. Okay, so obviously the tonic is E-flat, so we'll start on E-flat. I'm going to start on this low E-flat down here to give myself lots of space to go up. Okay, now I'm not going to put any accent.
Ищете работу в интернете, а хотели бы работать из дома и получать доход в 2-3 раза выше, чем на предыдущей работе? Если нет, пропустите это видео. Или...
Think we're going to just let this one go? The President of the United States, our President Donald J. Trump, illegally surveilled, allegedly, in the White House while he was president. This is according to government prosecutors. No, we're not going to let this one go. All right? Yes, I know Ukraine is a big story. It looks like perhaps the invasion is not going to happen. I hope so. And the convoy in Canada, I love those truckers. But this is important. Now the fake news is pretending it's not important. They're pretending maybe it didn't happen at all, or it's too complicated, or they just don't want to be bothered. It's not too complicated.
Да-да. Алло. Опять какие-то звонят. Непонятные.
Ваша позиция в очереди. 7. Благодарим за терпение.
Picture a rogue IT guy, all right, that your company hires who comes in and wants to destroy you and help your competitor. That's what we're talking about here. In court papers filed by John Durham, because he said, we know that the Mueller investigation at this point was a total joke, all right? Not according to Durham, but according to a lot of people in the know. That's why he was appointed. Tech executive number one and his associates exploited internet traffic at 3 locations. Trump Tower, all right? Very important. We had some inkling of that already. Number 2, the Trump Central Park West apartment building here in Manhattan. Most explosively, most importantly, the executive office of the President of the United States. Again, this is not from some blogger. This is from prosecutors, federal prosecutors for the Department of Justice. Inside that court filing from John Durham, it says as follows: Tech executive number 1 exploited his access to non-public internet data in connection with a pending federal government cybersecurity research contract. Contractors. The guy was essentially working there and had access to this stuff. It goes on. Let's see. Tech executive number 1.
Want to play the guitar but don't know where to begin? Musician is the best way to get started. The app listens to you play and guides you step by step to tune up and play your first song. So grab your guitar, download Musician, and start playing.
Goes on to say as follows. Tech executive 1 exploited at 3-pointed total to help your competitor. That's what we're talking about here. In court papers filed by John Durham, because he said, we know that the Mueller investigation at this point was a total joke, all right? Not according to Durham, but according to a lot of people in the know. That's why he was appointed. Tech executive number 1 and his associates exploited internet traffic at 3 locations. Trump Tower, all right? Very important. We had some inkling of that already. Number 2, the Trump Central Park West apartment building here in Manhattan. Most explosively, most importantly, the executive office of the President of the United States. Again, this is not from some blogger. This is from prosecutors, federal prosecutors for the Department of Justice. Inside that court filing from John Durham, it says as follows: Tech executive number 1 exploited his access to non-public internet data in connection with a pending federal government cybersecurity research contract. Contractors. The guy was essentially working there and had access to this stuff. It goes on. Let's see. Tech executive number 1's employer had come to access and maintain dedicated servers for the executive office of the president, EOP, as part of a sensitive arrangement. We believe that's code for top secret material this guy had access to. It goes on to say as follows. Tech executive 1 exploited this arrangement by mining the executive office of the president's DNS traffic, internet traffic, and other data. Basically, he was looking for dirt on Trump. And whatever he found, he portrayed it in the most negative light possible. Although, it turns out, it wasn't negative. He was saying that this was suspicious activity, and now the government prosecutors know it's not suspicious. Again, not some blogger. Take a look at the indictment and at the filing from late last week. This is the United States of America versus Michael Sussman. I love that. The United States of America versus Michael Sussman. And who is Michael Sussman? He's a Washington, D.C. lawyer who was doing work for the campaign of Hillary Clinton and also for tech executive number 1. Something else I love about this story, it's not anonymous prosecutors. Their names are on these filings. This isn't some Mueller-style leak. These are names. You can find out actually their email addresses in these court documents. If you want to send them a note, you can. This is very different from how Robert Mueller operated. Remember that for 2 years? All those creepy leaks, anonymous reporters were always citing, well, anonymous sources. Here's an example of that. All these headlines about Russiagate, Russiagate, Russiagate. Government officials who spoke anonymously, an unnamed source, and it goes on and on. Anonymous sources, according to U.S. officials. All that garbage when they're afraid to put their name on it, when they're just trying to destroy somebody. And here it is, out loud.
Unnamed sources are saying it ultimately benefited the Trump administration.
Sources tell CNN there was constant communication during the 2016 campaign between Russian operatives and top aides to then candidate Donald Trump.
Citing two sources.
Because it's easier to produce a course than to sell a course. It is easier to produce a course than to sell a course. So don't start with the producing, because you run the risk. You need to sell first. Someone is freaking out because they're like, yeah, how can I sell it if I haven't made it? So here,
Familiar with the matter. Intelligence officials with direct access to the information now believe with a high level of confidence that Russian President Vladimir Putin became personally involved in that covert effort to interfere in America's presidential race.
We know with a high level of certainty that Russia collusion was a hoax. But this little style of reporting can do very well for you in the Beltway. Pulitzer Prizes for everybody, the New York Times, the Washington Post, all on, well, a series of lies and smears. Fast forward to right now, and we have real information that the President of the United States was surveilled by forces loyal to Hillary Clinton, and she may have had a role in it herself. You would think that that would be a big issue for the Deputy White House Press Secretary. No. She got 26 questions on other things. This finally came up once, and it was cheerfully dismissed.
I refer you to the Department of Justice. I can't speak to that from here. Go ahead.
All right, simple as that. Go call the DOJ. Next question. Now, what do they do to the spokespeople, men and women, under Donald Trump about Russia?
You guys seem completely obsessed with this while there are a lot of other things happening around the country, and frankly, a lot of other things that people care a lot more about. The media refuses to cover it, and I think that's the distraction. Instead of the focus being constantly on tax cuts and tax reform, my guess is if you look at the records, the questions that I take in here day out have far more to do with an investigation that frankly most Americans don't care too much about, and a whole lot less to do with policies that actually impact them.
And one of the reasons why Americans didn't care all that much about the investigation, I think we kind of knew in our bones that it was nonsense. And it turned out that we were right. It was nonsense. And so was he, President Trump.
Ultimately, I'm always right.
Early in his presidency, he shocked the world, again on Twitter, that, well, he said he was spied on. Take a look. Terrible. Just found out that Obama had my wires tapped in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism. Now, he's been more than backed up. This has been more than substantiated. How did they react when he put this out there? Do you remember? I do. And now you'll see.
Shell. President Trump's shocking and evidence-free claim that President Obama had Trump Tower wiretapped before the election.
President Trump still offering no proof to support the unprecedented and inflammatory accusations he made on Twitter this weekend.
This whole story, let's be honest, this whole story is such BS. He's a proven troll.
Even by his own standards, the president leveled an extraordinary accusation against his predecessor.
These are among the most incendiary charges ever made in the history of our country by one president against one of his predecessors, and I think they're destructive to our democracy.
Does that sound very familiar? It's the same language, the same tone when they say President Trump has it all wrong about the November 2020 election. When he raises concerns about the fairness, the legitimacy, they say much the same thing. I wonder if he'll be proven right all over again. It could happen. You know, they just don't give him enough credit. He is a very special, unique person, let alone president. He is different. He has tremendous gifts. And if they could get that through his head, and also as president, that he had access to information that journalists don't, that regular people don't. He knew things, saw things ahead of time. It's going to be wild. I think he may be proved right all over again. Will spotting of Hillary out in public on the street. What does she say about the alleged spying that she may have had a hand in? We'll be right back. All I can say is that the fake news just doesn't get it, do they? And they admit they don't get it. They don't understand. They're pretending they don't understand this latest bombshell, and it is a bombshell, that President Trump was potentially surveilled by Democrats while he was president. Now, Morning Joe and his loving sidekick, Mika, had a discussion about the new information.
I spent yesterday reading through this stuff, reading through Durham's indictment seriously. I don't know
for hours
who wrote that because it was gobbledygook. There weren't dates. You sit there going, wait a second, did this happen?
Gobbledygook. There weren't dates. Yeah, there are dates all over this thing. He doesn't get it. September 19th, 2016. Michael Sussman goes to the FBI. Joe doesn't understand it. We can understand it. Let's do it again, all right? Hillary Clinton, desperate to be president. There she is. She has a campaign. She also has a lawyer her campaign is paying by the name of Michael Sussman. Michael Sussman does business, has a client, another client, tech executive number one. Tech executive number one is feeding him information he obtained illegally, it seems, from Trump Tower, from the Trump White House, from the executive office of the president, and he feeds it to Sussman. Sussman, meanwhile, is getting paid by Hillary Clinton campaign. Sussman makes an appointment with the FBI, says, I'm not representing anybody. I'm here as a concerned citizen. They believe he's lying. All right, I can understand this. Can't you? If you want gobbledygook, here's gobbledygook.
If you look at all of the contacts, we know that they started contacts from the Russian government where they asked for this synergy at a government level, started in 2015. They, of course, continued with this June 2016 Trump Tower meeting. At the same time, in August, or just after that in August, Paul Manafort was meeting with Konstantin Kilimnik, who, of course, we know is a Russian intelligence agent. And then they continued through the transition when Sergei Kislyak was meeting with Mike Flynn and the former Russian ambassador to the United States. That's right, and the president's son-in-law Jared Kushner. So if you're the special counsel, you're looking at a long timeline of outreach from Russian government officials, Russian intermediaries, Russian intelligence assets to the Trump campaign.
A lot of gibberish in there, and a lot of swampiness. And poor Mike Flynn, the incoming national security advisor, did you catch that? He was speaking so fast, you might have missed it. Meeting with Ambassador Kislyak. That was totally fine, totally appropriate. They set a trap for Mike Flynn. Gobbledygook. Hey, this is gobbledygook, okay? You got that? Morning Joe and your loving sidekick, Mika? Now, something else I'm hearing from the left. Well, who cares about Michael Sussman? Good luck with that. You're not going to capture much attention with a guy named Michael Sussman. It doesn't matter. Number one, he's a key player in all this, and a former federal prosecutor. He knows how the world works. This guy is no baby, but it doesn't matter if he's not famous. The Watergate burglars, they weren't famous. Nobody heard of those guys. And those who organized it, nobody knew who they were, really, before it all went down. So, no, that's not going to work. I think this is entering we know this is entering a very productive phase. I wonder if Jake Sullivan is nervous. Now, he's not exactly famous, but he certainly isn't nobody. He is...
Смотри, Миша, все, на что падает свет, это Африка.
Кто эти голодные напуганные люди?
Это звезды, Миша.
Я хочу их съесть.
Не надо. Они сами себя съедят.
Класс. Звезды в Африке. Новый сезон с 27 февраля в 19:00 на ТНТ.
Спасут ли вас $300 в день?
War can sneak up on states like a thief in the night. Russia is at its highest combat readiness since the collapse of the Soviet Union. According to Ukrainian intelligence, 127,000 Russian troops have gathered near Ukraine's borders. A portion of the mobilization is part of a joint exercise with Belarus, but the facts on the ground give the Russian leadership the option of attacking Ukraine from the east, south, and north. Russia's military advantage is overwhelming. It could assault Ukraine at very short notice. However, a Russian assault on Ukraine with the mission to capture the capital, Kiev, would ignite a conflict on a scale not seen since Iraq in 2003. So how would a Russian attack on Ukraine go down? And what would constitute Russia's ultimate objective? I'm your host Shirvan, and welcome to Caspian Report. Today's episode is sponsored by CuriosityStream, a streaming service that offers thousands of documentaries from some of the world's best filmmakers. It's the Hulu for history buffs or the Netflix for nerds. CuriosityStream works on most platforms, it's available worldwide, and they frequently add new content. For additional insight into the Ukraine-Russia stalemate, have a look at State of Play in the Story of Europe series and The Last Days of the USSR. These two documentaries provide additional context as to the motives for Russia's westward push. Using our link below, you will get unlimited access for only $2.99 a month or just $19.99 for the whole year. That is a terrific deal and a good way to support Caspian Report because it lets us make more content. Now, if you want to test things out, you can. There's a 30-day free trial available. Just go to curiositystream.com/Caspian and use the promo code Caspian during the sign-up process. The well-being of a nation, its peace and prosperity, is unattainable unless and until its security is firmly established. In Russia, security overrules all other socio-economic considerations. At times, those security interests even intrude into the political affairs of its neighbors. The Kremlin has a particular allergy to democracy. That's just how it's wired. Whether it's in Belarus, Kazakhstan, or Ukraine, Russia cannot tolerate a democratically governed neighbor. A democracy at its doorstep would inevitably look to the West to develop its legitimacy and liberal values, aligning with institutions like the EU and NATO in the process. Of course, this is how the Russians see it. Whether true or false doesn't matter. The Kremlin shapes its foreign policy according to that paradigm.
Знаете, я уже давно никак не рассматриваю его заявление, по-моему, он уже потерял связь с реальностью.
In Ukraine, the 2014 revolution brought forth democratic rule in Kiev. Fast forward a few years, and Ukraine is now in its final phase of a geopolitical realignment by looking to join the EU and NATO. Yet what makes Ukraine a special case is its geography. The flat terrain of Ukraine merges seamlessly with Russian territory. No geographic features mark the international boundaries. Should Ukraine join NATO, Russia would have to increase military spending and expand the size of its army to secure its western flank. So at best, NATO expansion into Ukraine would bankrupt Russia, both militarily and economically. At worst, NATO presence in Ukraine would threaten Russia's territorial integrity. Ukraine's Black Sea coast is only about 750 kilometers to the Caspian Sea. A professional military could move across that distance in a day or two. Doing so would result in a land bridge that cuts the Russian heartland from the North Caucasus, paralyzing the Russian state. The final element that gives urgency to the Ukrainian crisis is timing. Kiev is buying strategic arms left and right. Firstly, it has a growing stockpile of anti-tank missiles, supplied mainly by the United States and the United Kingdom. Secondly, Ukraine has also established licensed facilities to produce Turkish combat drones, which have proved deadly effective against Russian weaponry. And thirdly, Ukraine is looking to develop a missile program of its own, one that can threaten the Russian heartland in the same way Russia threatens the Ukrainian heartland. In time, whether it's 5 years or 10 years, the proliferation of strategic weapons will make invading Ukraine exceedingly costly. The country will gradually be better equipped to defend itself and harbor weapons to strike into Russian territory. The longer Russia waits, the longer it puts off an invasion, the stronger Ukraine gets and the costlier Russia's battle plans become. So, as grim as it sounds, it's better to act quickly than to hesitate until the time of action is past. How the Russian leadership will proceed is anyone's guess. The threat, however, is real, in both political and geographic terms, as well as in timing.
Значит, если на территории Украины возникнут комплексы какие-то ударные, подлетное время до Москвы будет, значит, там 7-10, а в случае размещения гиперзвукового оружия 5 минут.
Покупайте на Авито с доставкой от 49 рублей по всей России.
Анджелина Джоли останавливается, поворачивается, начинает импозировать.
То есть образ графа Суворова – это образ тех, кто построил Советский Союз и пришел к великому разочарованию?
Когда я начинаю, скажу тебе, слушай, давай сфотографируемся, и потом я выложу, я тебя использовал.
Но то, что очень часто называют пустой ярмаркой тщеславия, Инстаграм, ТикТок – это на самом деле намного более фундаментальная и важная вещь.
YouTube сильно поменял журналистику.
Согласен.
Платформы сильно поменяли кинематограф.
А потом оказалось, что там сидел Стинг за отдельным столом и ужинал, и все подчеркнуто показывали, что они на него не смотрят.
Соответственно, все самые главные события нашей жизни теперь происходят не вот так, как мы сейчас с тобой общаемся, это большая редкость, а вот только с таким вот близким можно его оправдать, то, что мы здесь встретились.
Добрый день, я Алексей Пивоваров, и я представляю проект Masterpiece by the Macallan. Сегодня у меня в гостях сценарист, продюсер, режиссер Тимур.
Should the Kremlin decide to take its chances and attack Ukraine, there are a few strategies to go for. The most credible battle plan comes from the alleged CIA interception of Russian military communications in early 2021. While the contents of the interception remain classified, NATO officials talking to the German newspaper Bild summed up the Russian plan as follows. Should war commence, the Russian army could strike from Donbass in the east, Belarus in the north, and Crimea in the south. The assault would come in 3 distinct phases, thereby allowing breathing room for diplomatic concessions. After taking a specific region, and if negotiations fail, the Russian army could move on to the next target, and so on, until Kiev rebukes and Moscow's political objective is met. Either way, the first phase is likely to focus on southern Ukraine. Russian tanks and troops coming from Crimea would take the coastline and surround the city of Odessa. Meanwhile, a Russian amphibious landing operation would cut Ukraine off from the Black Sea while strengthening the supply lines going into Crimea. Interestingly, 6 Russian amphibious ships departed the Baltic Sea in mid-January, heading towards the Atlantic Ocean. It is believed their destination is the Black Sea, which makes an amphibious assault all the more feasible. Eventually, though, the Russians would want to join their forces north of Odessa and then advance as far as Transnistria, a Russian-backed separatist region legally part of Moldova. At the same time, still in Phase 1, Russian special forces would infiltrate the southern portion of the Dnieper River. Their mission would be to disrupt Ukrainian logistics going across the river. Russia's vast artillery forces in Crimea would coordinate their attacks with the special forces on the ground, thereby tying up Ukrainian forces. Likewise, from the east in Donbass, Russian troops backed by the Air Force would take a chunk of eastern Ukraine and then take the cities of Dnipro and Zaporozhye by the Dnieper River. From there, the Russians would be free to advance towards Crimea and form a continuous land bridge going from Donbass to Transnistria. As soon as southern Ukraine comes under Russian control, the Kremlin would start dictating terms for a political surrender. If that doesn't work, it's on to Phase 2. Coming from the northeast, Russian mechanized infantry would surround Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv.
having an online business is that I can drive around on my scooter here in beautiful Vietnam. And the reason why I can be here is that we decided to make an online business selling our knowledge online. And if you are a coach, speaker, consultant, or anyone that has had trouble the last year because all your physical appointments was cancelled, I have good news. Because I'm Maria in Awesome Sales and Marketing, and I will very soon have a free webinar where I'll teach you how to sell your knowledge online so that you can build an online business, making a difference to more people, earn more money, being more free, and not last but not least, being more stable in this uncertain time of the world. The webinar is 100% free and 100% live, and all you need to do is to go to the page above or below through the link and register there. And I'll see you on the webinar.
Хотите заработать $1000 уже сегодня, а потом $1000 в день, каждый день? Вам потребуется всего 5 минут, а остальное за вас сделает моя команда. Да-да, меня слышались. Меньше чем через 24 часа у вас на счету будет $1000, а потом $1000 в день на протяжении всей жизни. Всего за 5 минут. 5 минут. Можете даже выставить это время на таймере. Множество людей уже проверили этот метод. И он на 100% безопасен. Никаких рисков. Чтобы присоединиться к ним и начать зарабатывать, вам потребуется всего 1,5 минуты. После этого уже в ближайшие сутки вы получите свою первую $1000 и обеспечите себе ежедневный доход в $1000 на всю жизнь.
Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the 8 major benefits from prolonged fasting. Now, prolonged fasting is where you go 48, 72 hours or longer, sometimes a week, sometimes 21 days, sometimes even longer. There's some interesting benefits that occur when you do this. The body goes into this survival mode. It's kind of like a physiological vacation for your organs, especially for your digestive system, because every time you eat, you kind of like shut down that system. The people that eat frequently, let's say you're doing 3 meals plus 2 snacks, never have a chance to get these amazing benefits. Let's start with number 1. You actually regrow your brain cells. Not the entire brain, but very specific parts of the brain, including the hippocampus, parts of the brainstem, and other parts as well. So that's really cool. I mean, how many of you could use some extra brain cells? So the part of the hippocampus that's regenerated has to do with memory, and there's like a relay switch in there that helps you get access to your database, your memory, your file cabinet of memories. So you're able to regrow that structure of the brain to improve memory. That's really, really cool. Okay, number 2, increase mitochondria. The mitochondria are the energy factories of the body. So you're going to find that your energy goes straight through the roof. Incredible amounts of energy when you don't eat. Well, remember, you're burning your fat, so you are eating, you're just not eating dietary calories. Number 3, autophagy. This is a condition in your body whereby it recycles old damaged proteins, okay? And other things like microbes and damaged mitochondria. So it's kind of a good self-cleaning action going on. And you recycle these proteins into new proteins to build new tissue. This is the epitome of anti-aging. But in order to get in this, you want to do prolonged fasting. Now, I do recommend doing intermittent fasting once a month or once every other month, or even like 4 times a year would be great. All right, next one is enhanced stem cell production. The stem cell is the cell without a purpose. It's not differentiated into a specific cell yet. It just sits there until the body says, I need a new cell because this is damaged or it needs to be replaced, and you actually get new cells. As you age, stem cells go down. The more stress you have, the more sugar you eat, or the more frequently you eat, the more it goes down. So when you do prolonged fasting, you actually enhance your stem cell reserve, your pool of stem cells. And this is another reason why you would get younger and you would feel more youthful, because you have more replacement. So prolonged fasting is a really amazing repair action. The drugs that promote anti-inflammatory effects basically dominate the market. Most of the money in drugs have to do with anti-inflammatories. Interesting. Rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune diseases, just inflammation. This tool of prolonged fasting is essential to actually help someone get to the root of why they're stuck in inflammation. A diabetic has a lot of inflammation. So if you have arthritis, bursitis, rheumatoid, any of the itises at all, you need to do prolonged fasting. All of the autoimmune diseases involve inflammation. That's why the remedy for autoimmune, whether it's MS, rheumatoid, always involves taking steroids, okay, like cortisone shots or prednisone. And that's an anti-inflammatory. But the problem is it rebounds and it creates more inflammation and destroys the adrenal gland. So this is a very safe way of reducing your inflammation. And if you have an autoimmune condition, this is essential. You can greatly improve that condition because of the effect on prolonged fasting on the immune system. Number 6, decrease tumor growth. So whether you have a polyp, a cyst, a boil, a fibroid, you need to do prolonged fasting to improve that situation. When you get into fasting, you run your body in ketones, and tumors cannot survive with ketones. Cancer lives on sugar, and when we do fasting, we deplete the sugar reserves, your glycogen reserves, and we're running on ketones, okay, and fatty acids. Well, tumors can't live on that, okay, so we starve them off. And also, cancer lives on glucose and L-glutamate. So by doing prolonged fasting, you get to starve cancer as well. So that's another benefit that I didn't mention. Number 7, increase antioxidants. Your body has an antioxidant network, okay? So you have vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc can act as an antioxidant, glutathione, lipoic acid, there's a whole bunch of them. So when you go into fasting, your antioxidant levels go way up. Why? Because this is where the body repairs and it defends itself against microbes and things like that. But zinc actually goes up when you do prolonged fasting. And zinc is involved in a lot of enzymes that are antioxidant. Uric acid also goes up. Now you might think that's a bad thing, but uric acid is one of the most powerful antioxidants in the body that your body uses when it's fasting. So it goes up, but then it will come back down too. So it's not a long-term thing. It's just a thing that will spike up just because the body needs that to clean up some of the stuff that it's dealing with. Okay, number 8, cell resistance to stress. So there's been this idea that when you do prolonged fasting, it's very stressful to the adrenals. Well, actually, it's helpful to the adrenals because it increases your stress tolerance. You're no longer running on the ups and downs of sugar. You're basically going into this interesting repair mode where the body starts to increase the resistance to all sorts of stresses. And part of that is the antioxidant level, but part of it is just, like if you were on chemo, for example, and doing fasting, your body, your cells would survive better because of this fact right here. So the cells become tougher. Okay, it's just kind of the survival mechanism that's established genetically because of years of adaptation in the past. Or when our bodies don't eat, it has to survive, so it goes into that certain mode. Now, how do you do prolonged fasting? I would recommend that you let your body tell you how long to fast, especially initially. You want to let your body kind of get used to it. So let's say, for example, the first time you tried, you only go 24 hours and not eat. That's fine. Well, give it more time. Maybe next month, start again. And maybe go to 36 hours, okay? And then work to 48 hours. Let your body tell you when you need to eat, okay? And I'm not talking about just some small amount of hunger. I'm talking about like, oh my gosh, I feel weak, my blood sugars are crashed, I'm hungry. Well, of course, you're ready to eat, okay? Just eat. But what you'll find when you do fasting is your hunger goes away and you feel good mentally and in your digestive system. So if you're feeling great, ride the wave and keep going. The only time I wouldn't recommend fasting in general, intermittent fasting or prolonged fasting, is if you're pregnant, okay, or you're breastfeeding. Healthy keto is fine, but not intermittent fasting. And the other situation that I wouldn't recommend prolonged fasting would be if you're very, very thin and you're trying to gain weight, because you're going to lose some weight on this. So that might be an issue. You can do intermittent fasting, maybe 2 meals a day, but when you start going more, you're going to lose a lot of weight. So that's just one thing about that. but go gradually and let your body tell you how long to go. So many people do this, they just they start fasting and they feel great, so they just keep going, as long as they can. They might get up to 72 hours and then they're ready to eat, okay? So over time, you can do it longer and longer and longer, but you don't want to force yourself. What you're living off is your reserve of nutrients. So I do recommend taking a multivitamin mineral, okay? I do recommend electrolytes in sea salt. I've had people actually pass out by trying to do this too fast because they weren't taking enough sea salt electrolytes, and the body needed that. So, make sure that you don't omit this. When you actually get done with your fast, you don't want to do this huge meal. You want to go slowly. You want to refeed slowly because it's kind of a shock to the system eating too much. Okay, so go just eat a little bit, wait a little bit, eat a little bit more, gradually ease into it. A really good thing to do when you're fasting is green tea. Naturally decaffeinated would be good. That will really help increase your antioxidant level. And another tea that's great for prolonged fasting would be Hoodia gardenia, and that will help suppress appetite, so it just makes it even easier. There's a product called EDTA. You can find it online. This is a chelator. I like this product because it pulls out heavy metals, specifically iron and calcium, especially if you have a lot of calcium deposits and stiffness or kidney stones, and a lot of other minerals. But if your iron is too high, you can have a lot of problems with the body. So this is a good chelator to pull the excess free iron out of the body. So if you took this, let's say you took it twice a week and you just took it in the morning, and then in the afternoon you took your electrolytes, that would be awesome because this does pull out other minerals too. So we want to put the ones back in that we want. But EDTA, I recommend it to take excess calcium out of your body and excess iron out of the mitochondria, which you're going to find that's going to enhance your energy even more. It's great for circulation, it's good for cardiovascular function, and also mitochondrial function. So it's just an extra thing that is very beneficial to take, but you just need to take it like twice a week. You don't have to take it on a regular basis, just because it can pull out too many minerals. So there you have it, the 8 benefits of prolonged fasting in a nutshell. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, I want to introduce you to my new Dr. Berg app. It's right here. I'm really excited about it. You need to download it. It's free. It has a lot of great data. It has all my videos. It's updated on a regular basis. I also have the audio version of the videos, audio episodes. I also have a mini course that you can take. I also have a button for new content, so you can really know of all the recent content that I'm downloading. And I also have something called PDF resources, which gives you additional cool little one-page PDF documents and all sorts of things. So download it, check it out, and tell me what you think about it. And don't forget to give me a review. It's Dr. Berg.
Левомиколь всегда был рядом. Когда я учился ходить, впервые поехал на велосипеде и покорял новые вершины. Левомиколь. Проверенное поколение.
Clap, you people! Clap like you're an audience, and not some assorted employees I dragged in here. Happy Tuesday, everyone. So how was your She spent the night in cuffs. Well, if the ATF had their way, she could have spent it in jail as well. Get it? The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives tweeted a plea to disgruntled exes to share info on former lovers involved in illegal activity. Quote, Valentine's Day can still be fun even if you broke up. Do you have information about a former or current partner involved in illegal activity? Let us know, and we will make sure it's a Valentine's Day to remember. Now, you know that I am a law and order guy. Not the show. That sucks. I mean the real thing. this creeps me out, mainly because you never want to rely on bitter exes for anything. She or he could call 911 and say you're holed up in a basement with an arsenal larger than the Sinaloa,
Sounds right.
yeah, cartel and hip-hop awards combined. When really, yes, when really you're just eating pizza in your underwear. We call that the doozy. Anyway, we've actually obtained the first few phone calls to the ATF.
ATF, what's your emergency? My wife. She's being erratic. She's drunk and she's doing arts and crafts. Okay, calm down. Does she have a gun? Yes, she's using it to stick rhinestones everywhere. Okay, sir, that's a hot glue gun? Please hang up. Wait. She also has a van full of ammonium nitrate parked outside Joanne Fabrics? We're on our way. Awesome, thanks. ATF, what's your emergency?
Hi, yes, my husband is acting crazy.
Is there alcohol or tobacco involved?
No.
Are there firearms?
Well, he just watched all the Dirty Harry movies, and I'm pretty sure he's about to start John Wick.
Keep him where he is. We'll be right there. ATF, what's your emergency?
My boyfriend left for work, and he's being such a jerk.
Are there weapons or contraband in the house?
No, I'm by myself. Just me and my bikini.
Ma'am, you're aware you called the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
Oh, I love a man in uniform. I'm just so lonely. Are you lonely?
So there's no gun present?
I thought maybe you could bring yours. I need the long arm of the law.
Oh boy, I'll be right over.
There you go. Nice one. So yeah, like a drug-sniffing Dotson, this won't catch criminals. What's next? Starting a fight at the Thanksgiving table to see which one of your relatives is strapped? And we all know snitches get stitches. Martha has that tattooed on her ankle.
I do.
So, look, it was a cute idea, but it helps no one.
Ну вот смотри.
Especially Christina Yuna Lee. She was murdered by a
Я просто за себя, я тоже так думаю, смотри. У тебя жизнь, у всех в жизни есть какие-то отношения. Про родителей я не говорю, я имею в виду отношения, которые размножательные. Ну, вообще надо говорить как бы семья, по идее. Но это сложное слишком слово. Да, то есть, как бы, по идее, в хорошем виде, да. Короче говоря, дело к ночи. Ну, отношения имеется в виду трахание. Кто-то в ком-то оставляет сперму. Ну, предположительно, мужской род в женском, в женщине. Ну, это и есть оно самое. Ну, а иначе как бы ни о чем, что-то не знаю я. Да. Импотенты, значит. Ну, или партнерство какое-то там, не кстати. Иначе ни о чем, сожительство просто бесполое. Да. Никому не нужно, трата времени. То есть ты, давай не будь, ну это самое, то есть ты что ты хочешь сказать, что ты мужчина, ты не можешь ни деньгами, ни временем распорядиться, ни как бы это самое себя обеспечить. Ты нормально, что ли? И ты свою единственную жизнь так живешь, которая мужская, что ли? Что тебе нужен партнер, что тебе нужна женщина, которая тебе еще деньги будет зарабатывать, что ли? Мне не касается. Я имею в виду, что есть какие-то отношения. Придется на них тратить жизнь и время. Ну или не придется. Или все равно не есть, все равно на них как-то тратится, да? Да. В чем суть-то, понимаешь? Кто-то должен быть постоянно беременным. Потому что иначе отношения нездоровые получаются. Как минимум, да. Это, я так догадываюсь, не мужчина, наверное, да? Не мужская, понял. Все, а иначе, ну, значит не надо, значит, да, вот и все, точка, настолько все просто. Так любовь, да тем более надо сразу сперму заливать туда, куда положено. Она на то и дана любовь, чтобы брюхать и возлюблен.
He allegedly stabbed her 40 times after following her into a Chinatown apartment early Sunday. The killer, you already know the drill, living in a shelter because there's no place for the
Ну
criminally
переживешь,
deranged.
значит.
He should have
Смотри,
tried
я тебе
anything.
просто как мужская особь объясняю. Любую женщину можно разжечь. Не надо вот этих слов, что вот я не про это говорю. Можно за ней поухаживать и вообще просто ее, да, понимаю, ну да. И так, что она будет, да, понимаю. это просто так женские особи, все, то есть женские половые органы, у которых, ну, просто женщины, женские особи, ну, или, ну, там, девушки, там, или до замужества и даже во время, да, и даже после, тем более, да. Ну, просто так уж, что теперь. По идее, да, то есть, по циковским, ну, по понятиям мужским, то есть, когда ты начинаешь за чужими ухаживать женами, то есть, женщина никто... Ну, у женщины своя ответственность, она не мужская. А спрос-то будет с тебя, понимаешь? Потому что ты же начал за ней ухаживать, ее добиваться, понимаешь? Да, то есть, понимает. Ну, это, ну, да. Ты же бездельник, как говорится, да. Тебе же, меня не касается. Нет, я про отношения говорю, как свою жизнь не тратить напрасно в этих отношениях. Просто надо беременеть. Отношения, это значит, что обязательно кто-то будет кого-то трахать, то есть оставлять сперму в ком-то кто-то будет. При нормальном подходе, при человеке, да, иначе все это трата времени и жизни. Да, и неуважение и плохие отношения, это значит. То есть хорошие отношения, это когда ты добиваешься женщину, когда мужчина добивается женщину и ее беременеет. Да, то есть и занимается с ней коитусом. Ухаживает там, неважно. Как не тратить время на это, чтобы жизнь твоя не прошла впустую. Да. Надо правильно, надо это себе говорить просто. Да. Ну, наверное, меня не касается. Меня это не волнует, что ты мне это рассказываешь. Понял ты, что... Понимаешь, это твоя единственная жизнь, единственная судьба. Я тебе говорю еще раз. То есть, женщина не умеет любить. Она может, ты в ней можешь разжечь притяжение, или она может быть сама по себе притягательна. Понимаешь? То есть, ты в нее как бы вкладываешь любовь. Понимаешь? Да. То есть, здесь такая парадигма, что любовь и... Вот такая парадигма, как у девушки, она не про мужчин. Она не катила никогда, и да, просто, если была бы реально, да, поймешь, да, то есть, это не надо даже никаких этих, это просто так, и все про это знают. Да, ну да, да, потому что они все хороши, женщины все хороши, всех можно добиться, и все они идеальны по-своему, понимаешь? Они все женские, да, гормоны, флюоны, да насрать мне на вас на всех, я просто объясняю, что женщины не все женщины. По сути, по идее, они все, ну, в каком-то смысле идеальны, да. То есть, да, ну, в таком тоже в том числе идеально подходит, смотри, да. Меня это не касается, я просто тебя объясняю. Но это не оскорбление, это как бы так меня на свет зачали вообще-то, и тебя тоже, скорее всего. Я просто шучу. Меня это не касается, блин. Еще раз я тебе объясню, как жизнь свою не прожить, то есть не тратить на отношения, ни время, ни вот этого, что вот этой ахинеи, про которую ты не там говоришь, чтобы такого не было в твоей жизни, что твоей единственной, чтобы она прошла нормально и вменяемо. Да, надо просто да, то есть постоянно беременная, вот и все. Здоровая, нормальная мама, да, вот и все, точка. Не просто беременная и постоянно абортирующая, а беременная и продолжающая здоровую жизнь, значит, рожающая постоянно, как резиновая баба, да. Значит, она, значит, ее трахать никто не будет тогда. Значит, тогда у нее не будет коитуса, значит, любви не будет, любовь будет без трахания, значит. А мне такая любовь нахер не нужна. Я брошу и найду себе нормальную тогда. Как и любовь. А у тебя бытовое сожительство, партнерское опять, да. То есть ты опять хочешь сказать, что... Меня это не касается. И это не обидно, это просто селяви, как говорится. Да, и да, все про это. И не только народная мудрость, просто жизнь такая. Если тебя женщина не рожает, то ты членосос. И находиться с ней рядом нельзя, если она тебя не рожает, понимаешь? То есть, ну, как бы, ну, не знаю, как тебе это объяснишь. Да, ну, это типа того, да. Ну, поймешь, да. Ну, вот это он имел в виду, да. То есть, это ненормально. То есть, она, наверное, больна. Значит, надо ее починить как-то, починить примус, да. Чтобы нормальные были отношения, чтобы жизнь твоя не прошла зря, понимаешь, чтобы это время, которое ты отдал на отношения, деньги и бла-бла-бла, и все это, весь этот нонсенс, чтобы он как-то окупился в твоей судьбе, понимаешь, в твоей единственной жизни, понимаешь, чтобы, чтобы был какой-то, даже так пусть будет, да. Да, понимаешь, чтобы... Ну, так наоборот, значит, ну, вот, ну, на себе так думает, тоже наоборот, да. Ну, он себе так говорит, потому что, да, ну вот и все. Ну, я же тебе не говорю быть агрессивным там. Ну, смотря, что ты имеешь в виду, я, нет? Ну, да. Ну, нет, я не про это говорю. Не агрессивным, а мягким, ухаживающим, ну, типа того. Да. Типа того, да. И нормально, никто не заметит, как забеременеет, и как начнет, да, и все нормально, все смирятся, кому надо, и все остальные будут работать. И это хорошо, потому что все равно, даже если ты так не захочешь, все равно жизнь тебя заставит, так или иначе, только уже по-другому, да. Да, то есть уже менее результативно, скажем так. Твоя единственная жизнь, понимаешь, единственная. Очень, да, ну да. Нет, можно тут врать и спекулировать сколько угодно. Будет второе перерождение Брахмы, Будды, я рожусь на другой планете, будет душа у меня в 10-м перерождении, или вообще куда-нибудь в рай попадет, или еще что-нибудь, или наоборот. Но жизнь у тебя одна, правильно? При любом этом, все это остальное шизофрения, все остальное просто вранье со зла. Просто люди очень, да, о, понял меня, ты что, умный что ли, блин? Да, а там, где вранье, там, значит, кто, ты верующий, значит, да? Смотри, да, здравствуйте, да, он тебя, да, ну, вот и все тогда, да. Да кому ты говоришь, слушай, да, он тебя понял, да. Своей собственной причем, да, персоне, да. Пошел нахер. Ну, он понял, не, я просто это я не готов на это, я не считаю, что это нормально, понимаешь? То, что он сейчас там говорит, я не считаю, что это нормально, что это такая вот жизнь такая, это не жизнь такая, это у них такая, потому что они уроды, потому что они недоумки, и, да. А как бы вообще она не такая, да, понимаю. Я про это и говорю. Как ты вешаешь, так. А может, вот именно понял тебя. Соляви, видишь, и все, можно теперь никого не наказывать. Никто не виноват, ни жизнь, ни я, ни ты, вообще никто. Ну, даже некому мстить, и да, не надо Танатосом быть, понимаешь? Можно быть мужчиной. А Танатос это членосос, оказывается. Самый такой похлеще Дарта Вейдера, но это еще большой вопрос, ладно. С гейскими наклонностями. Если, ну, как бы, ну, поймешь. Долгий разговор просто, да. Да. Да, он понял тебя просто. Да. Ну, да, да. Ладно, думай сам. Не, вот писать что-то где-то... Я просто так.
A job as a CNN producer. He had dozens of arrests and was just busted on January 6th, but freed on supervised release. Yeah, supervised release. How does that work? Unless that means a cop following this psycho around 24/7, I don't want to hear about it anymore because it doesn't work at all. Meanwhile, actual January 6th, 2020 defendants weren't even given bail. So this guy's locked up. He finally figured out how to stay arrested, murder someone. That's the bar now for inclusion, which coincidentally is the same bar gangs like MS-13 use for initiation. Because nothing else sticks in a hellscape where felony assault and grand larceny are like ripping off the tag from a mattress. But hey, if only one of the killer's exes had seen the ATF tweet, who knew? We could have tricked him with a Whitman sampler, or have his ex make a reservation at Applebee's and then slap the cuffs on him during dessert. But what's the point of having people narc on each other when you don't even lock up the people you already busted? It's the cart before...
Хотели бы всего за месяц раскрутить свой канал на Яндекс.Дзен и получать трафик в свой бизнес совершенно бесплатно? Если нет, пропустите это видео.
Before the police force. Maybe figure out how to keep these monsters behind bars before you figure out clever ways to grab more. If you need to figure this out, just look at what we did 5 years ago before Democrats screwed this up. Right now, heinous criminals roam like free-range chicken, and progressive DAs hide from the mayhem they cause. No wonder they love mask mandates. I'd wear a mask too if I were them. These crimes keep happening, and what follows? Outrage, mostly on Fox. Then it's forgotten. Rinse blood and repeat. Many victims are Asian. When will the Asian leaders who represent them do something big? Creating a Cupid's 1-800 crime line on Valentine's Day is not enough. And forget platitudes about stopping Asian hate. Homeless thugs don't read tweets from the mayor's office. It's up to you, Asian groups, because other groups just aren't that into you. There's no Asian Lives Matter group fighting on your behalf. Instead, they judge you as a group they're trying to keep out of college, and they call that anti-racist. And don't expect help from the Dems either. They literally doubt that women exist. Hell, AOC just blamed the crime surge on the expired child tax credit.
We don't want to say some of the things that are obvious, like, gee, the child tax credit just ran out on December 31st, and now people are stealing baby formula. We don't want to have that discussion. We want to say these people are criminals, or we want to talk about people that are violent instead of environments of violence, and what we are doing to either contribute or to dismantle that.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's what's causing all the smash and grabs, the carjackings, the stabbings. What an ignorant statement. How does she not own at least a dozen cats? Actually, these environments of violence weren't so violent before loons like her got into power. And sorry, lady, we talk about this stuff every day. I'd ask where you've been, but we all know, planning trips to Florida. We've talked to the victims' families, we pored over the stats, and so far not one person was beaten to death for baby formula. In fact, the people struggling in this lockdown economy aren't stealing baby formula at all. They're wondering why they're no longer safe on their way home. AOC, these victims aren't ideas or political constructs. These are women who bleed to death when they are stabbed. AOC claimed her life was in danger because of a riot in a building she wasn't even in, but dismisses actual murder as a problem over taxes. What's next? Her critics are sexually frustrated? Christina Yuna Lee wasn't butchered to death over baby formula in an environment of violence. She was a young Asian woman followed to her home where that became an environment of violence that AOC and her side helped create while living in a safe, make-believe, abstract world. If they dusted the murder scene for prints, they may not have found yours, AOC, but your bad ideas were an accessory. Welcome tonight's guest. She's our favorite McCallum, not named Single Malt. Host of The Story, Martha McCallum. She's been in more locker rooms than athlete's foot. Former NBC sportscaster Michelle Tafoya. She's like a rake from Home Depot, thin, pointy, and face down in your yard. Fox News contributor Cat Tip. And he uses a leaf blower to make a salad. My massive sidekick and the NWA World Television Champion, Tyrus. Michelle, welcome to the show. So happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
A fellow Golden Bear. We're Golden Bears.
Well, you know, I sent my diploma back, so I'm not sure I still have claim to that. My husband told me, you know, once you send that back, you can't say you graduated from the University of California, Berkeley. I said, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so you have regrets too.
From
what I remember, it wasn't very good for me either. You know, we got to talk about this AOC equation. Tax credit, baby formula.
Понимаешь, какая ситуация? Такая ценность жизни. Жизнь, которая нужна для чего? Если она, представляешь, она у тебя не мужская, если она женская. То есть, ну, жизнь это твое тело, которое женское. Для чего оно тебе нужно? То есть, как эту жизнь... Ну, не надо, это не назидание просто. Ну, хорошо, то есть, такая ценность эгоизма такая. Ты живешь такая для себя. Тогда какого хера это у тебя происходит? То есть, с организмом ты своим не дружишь, это как минимум. Во-первых, да. Ну, да, даже это меня не касается. Хорошо. То есть, придется... Да, ну, типа того, да. Да. То есть, получается, что... Да, ну, понимаешь, долгий разговор просто. Ну да. беспомощная, неподвижная, бесхарактерная. Типа того, да. Наверное, разделяющая, наверное, угождающая, разделяющая. Типа, да. И к добру какая-то, к жизни. Но не самостоятельно. Не знаю. Ну, наверное, да. Ты правильно понял меня. Перед женщинами становится стыдно, понимаешь? Если ты вот злой человек, а у тебя жена, и она там, да, понимаешь? И вот она реально без всяких умыслов, просто она вот хорошая и все. Она жена, потому что ты ее добился, но она твоя жена, ну не знаю, хорошая там, так или иначе, да, понимаю. Какой-то момент, да. Вот, ну, гипотеза такова, что чем у них меньше мужских качеств, уж прости заражение, да? Типа того. Да, тем меньше ты захочешь разрушать. Типа того. Да. Ну, наверное. Ну, да ладно, не знаю. Короче, стыдно будет, наверное. Наверное. Перед жизнью, да. Наверное. Да. Не знаю, сложно это все. Ну, типа, да. Ну, да, да. Да, какой-то есть, ну, понимаешь, да. Ну, типа, да. Ну, понимаю, понял, типа, да. Ну, наоборот, да. Ну, это разговор имбецилов, не мужской разговор. Как бы. Добрыми надо быть. Да, что это значит? Вот. Ничего это не значит. Надо быть просто прагматами. Надо быть адекватным. Знать, зачем живешь. Понимаешь? Иначе никак не бывает. Только так, если ты будешь добрым, ты будешь злым тогда, понимаешь? Ты будешь как баба и станешь Доном Корлеоне. И просто будешь служить своим слабостям, вот и все. И, да, я понимаю. Ну вот для женщин, наверное, это нормально, да. Так, ну вот я и говорю, а нормальность для души это что? Это доброта. Понимаешь, без всяких понтов, да, всяких вот этих. Ого, вот этих вот всяких, понимаешь. Да, отдача, да, понимаю. Верование же это, да, типа того. Да, да, понимаешь. Всегда быть покладистой, всегда быть для своего, самый лучший, для своего мужа, для своей семьи. Прям вообще, да. Ну вот для Маратки это значит, чтобы деньги зарабатывали и за ним ухаживали, значит. Возможно, не для... Ну, наверное, не касается. Ну да. Из порочного круга, говорит. Ладно.
I mean, it's so simple. Why didn't we figure this out?
She might as well have learned that at Cal. But, you know, that is so bizarre. But I grapple with every time she speaks because I ask myself, but obviously she gets tons of publicity because she's a master at getting tons of publicity.
True.
And people do need to respond to some of the insanity she spews. One of the things that I read that she said was, the biggest thing that Joe Biden could do right now, the most important thing he could do is forgive student debt.
Right.
And I'm sitting here thinking, that's the most important thing. I mean, this was one of the headliners in this piece that people in New York. So she's very off.
Yes.
And she also said that, you know, Congress is I'm allowed to use the SH word, right?
Yes.
It's in deep or whatever she said. So Yeah, it's been that way for a long time.
очень хорошо,
She
да.
didn't help.
No, she made it. She actually makes it work. She thinks she's above it. She thinks she's above Congress, and she lives in this kind of. She lives in an abstract, collegiate world, right? Where none, like all these practical things, bad things that happen in the world, don't really affect her. So she makes these. Like it's definitely baby formula, Martha. It's definitely baby formula.
It's so twisted. How? In what world does this woman who represents New York not bend over backwards to talk about this woman who was followed 6 flights up
Yes.
by this man who is deranged, who has been arrested, I think, 12 times in the past several years? And why isn't she screaming from the rooftops that this man should be in jail and protect this young woman, young, beautiful New Yorker like herself, who she apparently has, no affinity for, or no sympathy for? She's blaming it on baby formula. Apparently there's some racket that was, wiping baby formula off the shelves and selling it on the black market. And then she says, the problem is that we ignore the reasons behind things.
Yes.
She's ignoring all the reasons behind things and professing to know what's going on, and she just obviously doesn't know what's going on in either one of these stories.
No, it's amazing. Tyrus, I really want to know how you feel about the ATFX's narking story. But if you'd like to touch on the other ones, you're more than welcome. But I have a feeling you have strong feelings about that.
Yeah, I had 3 visits from the sheriff this weekend, so a lot of stuff.
Yes.
There were no weapons of mass destruction in the house. So, I mean, that was nice, but it was the idea to promote not letting it go.
Yes.
And to promote stalking.
Yes.
In the name of the law is about as normal as someone saying to AOC when she says, gee, let's have that conversation, with a straight face go, yeah, let's do it, go.
Yes.
Because you're walking out of that drooling and probably wetting yourself at just the ridiculousness of her comments. They make no sense, and I think it's by design.
Right.
How are you a socialist but you're complaining about how much money you get paid? It doesn't make sense. It's like either she's an evil genius who's doing this for some other crazy reason, or nobody bothered to read the resume at the bottom. And I think a lot of people who voted are going to have to be looking in the mirror going,
but she's got a future.
She had 2 vowels in her nickname. You thought that meant that she had some stuff behind it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you can't. Don't try to put on leather pants with baby formula. Right, cats? Excellent.
Привет, пропустите это видео, если вам совсем не интересна тема открытия своего прибыльного интернет-магазина. Меня зовут Николай Федоткин, и я много лет вожу так.
Voice work today on these skits.
Thank you.
Yes. Do you know that the press secretary, I just found this before the show, said that the rise in violence is because of hate-filled rhetoric and language around the origins of the pandemic. We touched on this. That somehow, like all these homeless dudes are upset at Asian people over the pandemic.
I gotta be honest, I never see them reading.
No,
I don't think that is true.
Yeah, I knew that.
I don't. And with AOC, it's she's like, not only did she say something that was that ridiculous, but she's like, nobody's talking about this.
Yes.
And sometimes the reason no one's talking about something is because it's dumb. Like, it's not, there's a reason nobody's saying that. But again, she's not a socialist. I always say this, she's not a socialist, she has a French bulldog.
Right.
That does not exist without that's not a rescue.
No, that's not a rescue. That's a
expensive dog that is made. They don't have sex with each other. They have to be genetically engineered and then C-sections because their heads are too big. That dog does not exist without capitalism. So all you need to do is look at her dog to know she's full.
Yeah, the other thing too, and we're gonna move on. I believe everything she gets is from another person. Like somebody goes, "Did you hear that all of these things are from baby formula and it's caused by?" And then it goes into her brain. She goes, and then she just spits it out. She hasn't thought about any of it.
I can really empathize with that, but I'm not in a position of power.
Yeah. Well, you kind of are. All right.
Thanks.
It looks for kids who don't really read good.
Yes.
No one's talking about it.
Yes. All right, up next, the road is blocked by a freighter, so Canada needs a dictator. If peaceful protesters won't withdraw, Trudeau's banking on martial law.
Ты peaceful? Нет, я... Ну ладно.
Justin Trudeau, Canada's most famous person of color, announced for the first time in its history that his country has invoked the Emergencies Act to crack down on the trucker protests. After all, those bouncy castles won't deflate themselves. He says the measures will be time-limited, reasonable, and proportionate, which is the same thing I said when I signed up for those pole dancing classes. Anyway, here's Prime Minister, or Prime Miniature, Pantene, showing off his brand new suburban mom hairstyle.
The federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations. We're entering the third week of illegal blockades that have been disrupting the lives of too many Canadians. Here in our capital city, families and small businesses have been enduring illegal obstruction of their neighborhoods, occupying streets, harassing people, breaking the law. This is about keeping Canadians safe.
So as to the Emergency Act, it was passed in 1988, the same year I was born, Martha, and grants the government way more power in times of national crisis, like a war or too many polar bears. But lawful protests do not qualify, well, unless you believe a horn can take down the government. So that's debatable here. But the act also allows banks to freeze personal accounts with anyone linked to the protest without a court order. And vehicle insurance for anyone involved can be canceled, which means the government can bankrupt anyone they don't like. China must be licensing their ideas for oppression. Meanwhile, CNN continues to paint the protesters as something else entirely.
This has devolved from sort of vaccine mandate concerns to general mandate concerns to just anger concerns about sort of too many government restrictions, and they want their freedom back, whatever that means.
Whatever that means? It's weird to have to tell a journalist whatever that means. Maybe he's not one. Martha? My theory, the Prime Minister got off to a really bad start, and he doesn't have the balls to admit that he should start over with these truckers.
To put it in reverse and say, why don't we talk? Because once you say that people have unacceptable views, you
Пропустите это видео, если вы не хотите открыть свой бизнес и зарабатывать от 300 тысяч рублей в месяц. Меня зовут Лео Шевченко, и я продаю товар на маркетплейсах на 15-20 миллионов рублей каждый месяц. Я хочу пригласить вас на свой бесплатный онлайн-мастер-класс «7 шагов, чтобы выйти на маркетплейсы и начать зарабатывать от 300 тысяч рублей в месяц», где всего за 2 часа я в прямом эфире расскажу вам, что такое маркетплейсы и как вы